Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the TAPS Tennis webinar. My name is John Skees. I am the Director of Media at TAPS. I'm joined today by Robert Huckabee, TAPS Athletic Director and Director of Compliance, and by Brian Bunselmeyer, the TAPS Executive Director. We'll go through our presentation. At the end, we'll have time for questions. If you get questions in the middle of if you have questions in the middle of the presentation, you can just put them in the question panel or in the chat box at the bottom, and we will read those and get to them at the end. Again, this is going to be recorded, so you can reference it later. That'll be emailed to you with the email address that you used to register for the webinar. We're also going to make it available on our YouTube channel for anybody who wasn't able to be with us today. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brian.
Thank you for joining us. We've tried to have this meeting for the last couple of years. Like we said in the golf webinar earlier today, this seemed to be the best way. You don't have to leave the house, and we don't have to worry about weather or traffic on I-35 going to Waco. So we appreciate you joining us here today. I am joined by Robert Huckabee. He is our Director of Compliance and our Athletic Director. I'll let him introduce himself and say a few words.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining our webinar. Like John mentioned earlier, it will be available afterwards as it is being recorded. So throughout the course of this, if you have questions, just type them in there. We'll get to those at the end. Even after we're done, or if you think of questions later, you can always reach out to our office, info@taps.biz. You can call us. We're on the road often, especially in the spring doing events, but we are here to help. So call or shoot us an email if you have any questions. We'll assist you and make sure that everything you have in place for your tournaments, for your district tournaments, and then questions you might have about state, we're here to assist you.
As we go forward for district tennis, one of the things to remember is that it is governed by the USTA rules, so have your friend at the court if you need those rules. You also have the TAPS governing rules. The TAPS governs who can play, when they can play, so our eligibility rules are still in play. You have to have your students in rank 1. You have to have those students be green and be approved prior to the competition. And the other side of that goes through the eligibility side is making sure that you have them take the tennis test, which is a little different this year. The tennis test this year is located in your coach's toolkit. We'll be sending an email out on that, or a rank 1 push. But this year, we're asking the tennis coaches to go over the questions with their students in a test or an informal setting, make sure they know the rules. It's one thing to have a test. It's another thing to learn the rules and be able to apply them on the court. So most of those things may or may not come up in a competition, but if they do, you need to know the rules. And the biggest rule that we get concerned with or concerns are presented to us, believe it or not, is uniforms. What is the uniform rule of TAPS? So if you go to taps.biz, and on the bottom left-hand side, it says governance, and you scroll down to where it says tennis, in there it's going to have your uniform rules. The biggest thing we're asking is modesty. The biggest thing that we're asking is if you're wearing spandex on the bottom, male or female, you've got a courtesy short on the top of it. Bodysuits, if you're going to wear it, again, you're going to have shorts on the top. So those were a couple of things that came up last year. What size the straps are for a girl's top, can the back be bare or whatever, that's kind of up to each individual school to meet their modesty desires. We do have rules and references on dress code in the TAPS rules. So I appreciate you looking at those. As the tennis host, you don't have to be the enforcer of those rules, but you definitely, if you see something wrong or see something of question, you need to be one that comes back and says, hey, you might want to look at that or contact the TAPS office. If you have questions during the tournament or during your contest or prior, info@taps.biz, info@taps.biz, or our phone number, 254-947-9268, 254-947-9268. If you've got questions, we'll try to help you walk through and navigate the landscape.
And for your benefit, those tennis rules are contained in, if you go to that governance tab and scroll down to section 182 and 183 of the TAPS bylaws. That's where you can find our tennis rules, and there is a section in there that does address dress code, and those are there for your review. If you look at a rule ever and have a question, or don't understand it, or it's not clear, or you have a situation that may not be addressed in the rules, then always reach out to us and we'll help walk you through that process.
As we go to the next section will be the district host responsibilities. District hosting is a challenge at times, and other times it's a breeze. Kind of depends on who's coming and how well it goes. So you do need to have a planning meeting or a planning email to discuss when, where, and why you're at a certain facility. So select your facility, secure that, and make all arrangements to pay. Make sure you have enough courts to do the matches that you are preparing to do. As you also go through there, as you're working through, make sure you have a tennis pro, either the pro shop, if they are a USTA pro, or someone that can cover and be that answer person. You can do it by committee. I got to be honest with you, for 20 years, it didn't work well for me. I'd much rather have that independent third party that can come out and give a ruling on a point or whatever. I would also ask that you not inundate them with questions. They're not there to call lines. They're not there to call footballs. Go over all of that in your pre-planning meeting on how that's going to occur. A big part here is going to be after you secure that. One thing I would also say is who's going to provide the balls. Days past, everybody brought a can of balls, and then you opened them. Winner moved on with their can open. Loser had the other one. I would say one of the things that we've done at the state tournaments that's been a big plus is using the same ball for every match and having those provided. So as the district host, if you're going to be that host, you may want to look into providing balls for all the matches and rolling that into your entry fee cost. Entry fees should be determined by school or per student. Make sure you agree with that on how you're moving forward prior to getting there, and then make sure you collect all those fees. That's part of you being a host, but it's an opportunity that you have for sure. We don't want to leave you hanging. So make sure you secure a facility. Make sure that you secure and make arrangements to pay, and find that pro or find that person to act as your rules official. If you need help on that, we can always reach out to Kevin Foster. Kevin Foster is in Waco. He is, for 30 years now, has been our de facto director of tennis, and he is our tennis guru for the state tournament. So we appreciate all that he does for us, getting us ready and moving forward. So as we look here, 1, 2, and 3A will remain as in years past. You will be at district to state for your qualification, and TAPS will host those two districts. There's a North District and a South District. And Robert, you had a little more information on that.
This year, our North District tournaments for 1A, 2A, and 3A will be at Burleson High School. And so we'll have information out on that, so you can plan that you'll be in the Burleson area on your respective day for your North region, 1A, 2A, or 3A. South region, we're going to be back at Kerrville. Some of you have been there before. I think it's HEB Tennis Center. We'll have information out on that. So any information you need about tennis, if you'll go to the TAPS website, click on the tennis page, we have a lot of dates on there. We have championship information, and there are references there to the rules and other things that are great tools for you. So go to that tennis page on the TAPS website first if you think you have a question about a location, about a rule, or any of that. If you don't find that information there, always reach out to our office, info@taps.biz, or you can call us anytime, 254-947-9268. Brian is kind of our resident tennis expert. He has more experience in that area than the rest of us. But Steve or I are also available to help. If we don't know between the three of us, we'll get an answer back for you and make sure that you have all the information you need to run your tournament.
Again, 4, 5, and 6A, your tournaments will be hosted by the local districts. So we look forward to having you work through there. We'll go through the entry process here in a minute. We did put www.tabs.biz, so make sure if you go to tabs.biz, the next slide shows it going to tennis. So if you go to www.tabs.biz, click on athletics, go to tennis. That is the tennis page. Updates will be on the right-hand side. That right-hand side on all the TAPS activity pages is a blog. Every time we send a rank 1 push or an email, we'll also update that information over there on the right-hand side. 1, 2, and 3A, if you go to the top of that on the red menu bar, then one of the things that you'll see is districts. That's for you to help rule. The rules links are there. Just kind of go across there as you look down. That's where we'll be. So if you have questions on taps.biz, please make sure you go to that tennis page and make sure we understand any question you have. We want to try to answer ahead of time. If your coaches have questions and you're hosting, please reach out to us. We'll do our very best. We may be at a swim meet, a wrestling tournament, or a basketball tournament, but at the same time, we'll try to make the best we can out of getting your questions answered. We want to move on to district entries. As a reminder, each school, you're allowed 2 singles and 2 doubles. You are allowed to nominate either 1 or 2 alternates. The same alternate now can be for both doubles teams. So 2 singles and 2 doubles. You may have more, but that's what you're culling your team down to by the time you get to the district tournament. Districts have used several different methods to develop seeding, but one of the things that we have seen in the bigger divisions is having a pre-district tournament. You get together and have a pre-district first, and then the next thing would be the opportunity to go dual matches to see head-to-head. So as we go through there, make sure that your district is very clear on how that's going to occur. Some districts are doing open entry. Everybody signs up. You look at the seating information and you seed them the best you can. That's what we're doing at the 1, 2, and 3A level. 1, 2, and 3A coaches send their seating information in, and at that point, we do the very best we can to seed the tournament. One thing that needs to be pointed out in all districts is that you can make changes prior to the district tournament. If you have a young man or woman get sick prior to the tournament, you can make a change. If injury occurs, you can make a change to your doubles or your singles. If you've already done your pre-district tournament matches or your pre-district seeding tournament, you're going to have to take that into account because the coach can make changes up until the district tournament. So make sure you walk through those processes. Changes in alternates at district and changes in alternate states. The big thing on the double side is you have to declare that alternate prior to the first match of the day. You can't just go through match number 1, somebody gets hurt, and then you go ahead and put the alternate. It doesn't work that way. You can put your alternate in up until play begins. If you have an injury or illness that requires a player to leave the tournament, at that point, they will leave the tournament with whatever victories or defeats they have at that point. So you can make your changes. You can sub your alternates in up until the beginning of district play. Once the district tournament begins, all entries are set. Again, you get 2 doubles and 2 singles, and that's the way we go on that. Seeding information is of utmost importance to everyone. Everyone wants to get it right. We want to do the very best we can. As you go forward, this will be on your entries will be in rank 1. And you'll include your seating information for each entry at that time. So things I've been asked numerous times, what is included in seating information? Well, a lot of times your district host or whoever's looking, especially if it's 1, 2, 3, and it's the TAPS office, we may or may not know you. We may have never seen you before. So a USTA junior ranking, that's always important. Are you a 16 champ, a super champ? Where are you in those rankings? The UTR rating, if you're doing that, if you've been submitting your information, you do have a UTR, then make sure you include that. Head-to-head matches, if you're going into district play, if they've played and they're 6-0 against everybody in the district, then obviously that would be your number 1 seed. So head-to-head matches. Tournament results. A lot of people play fall and spring tournaments, so if you have tournament results to add and can describe what the tournament was and how well they did, it helps. And then previous year TAPS results. The older I get, the less I remember. So if they've done well in the previous year's district and state tournaments, please let your district host know that. The district host should be seeding the tournament or have someone that they're working with. That seeding should be completed prior to schools arriving. It should be ahead of time. All coaches should have a chance to look at the seeding, and all coaches should have the opportunity to challenge the seeding. So prior to the beginning of district play, make sure you have that opportunity for each coach to have a say in whether they agree or disagree. At the end of the day, it can be a vote of district coaches, or it could be the tennis pro you have to determine any tiebreakers. So seeding should be done. Folks should know what they are prior to there. And if you're hosting a tournament, please make sure you get your brackets out prior to the tournament beginning if possible, so that people can see where and when and how and why and what their path is to the championship. As we're talking about the tournament, the district format is very important. In past years, we've utilized at our district levels, when I was at school level, single elimination. We've utilized double elimination. We've come back with playbacks and no playbacks. Determining place is important. One past the number of state qualifiers. So when we go to state qualifiers, if you're getting 4 from your district out, we need to have that 5th and or 6th place decided in case of injury or illness as we go forward. Robert, what's your thought on that?
Yes, we have had issues in the past where we get results from a district and they did not play they played the last qualifier, but they did not determine, for instance, if you had 8 advancing, they did not determine that 9th place position. It's very common in the spring. A lot of our schools, a lot of our students are doing multiple things. They have conflicts in different areas. And so, in fairness to everybody, go ahead and make sure you determine not just the top 8 if 8 advance from your particular district, but determine that next qualifier, the first one out, if you will, determine that one as well, because then if somebody drops, we can easily add that person in, allow them to advance to the next level.
looking at the questions, and we appreciate those coming in. We'll catch most of those at the end of the deal. I will say that you do not have to have a UTR. You do not have to have the tennis rating. If you do have, it's always helpful to have as we're going through things. Another thing that's going to go on is, and it always concerns me, is early withdrawal from a tournament. Over the last couple of years, we've had players that have come, and once the tournament got to the place where they realized who the top four were and the top four were advancing, then people would abandon the tournament. So we struggle with that abandoning of the tournament because you may have someone that would have been the district champ now seeded fourth, and you can imagine what that does to the state draw. So one thing I would highly encourage at the district level is that once you enter the tournament, you finish the tournament. If you withdraw for injury or illness, of course, those things do happen. But to be quite honest with you, it should not occur. But just leaving to go to another tournament or whatever, or we have another obligation. If you can't finish the tournament, you really shouldn't start the tournament. So as coaches, you have the ability to walk through that at the district level and determine it. I will tell you at the state level, once you start, you need to finish. So early withdrawal has been a concern in the past, and it has messed with our seeding at the state level a little bit when we had who would have been a district champ come on back out. So as you go forward, district format, make sure all the coaches are in agreement on single elimination, double elimination. If you're doing playbacks, if you're not doing playbacks, make sure your draws indicate where those people are. If you're doing playbacks and you're doing double elimination, where do you fall after defeat, and are you fighting your way all the way back through? That's also determining on how many kids you have and how many you have in each draw. Are you going to have a 1 day or 2 day tournament? If you're doing full playback with a double elimination, you have a 16 team draw. You're going to have a lot of tennis being played. So make sure you have your rest break scheduled. And as we go forward, make sure that works as best as your coaches agree. So another thing that keeps coming back to us, and we've got those same things showing here, single elimination, double elimination, playbacks. I can't speak enough. The biggest part about this is all the coaches in the district are in agreement.
Yeah, you need to coordinate this with every team in your district, whether they have full complement of teams or just one or two players. It's very important for everybody, every school in the district, all the coaches to get together and to know what the format's going to be, to know how you're going to walk through seating. Certainly you can agree and disagree, but everybody needs to have a voice in the equation so that when you start that tournament, everybody knows this is the format, this is how we're going to do it. And as the players win and lose and advance through the tournament, they'll know if they have an opportunity to advance and what that path's going to look like.
So as we move forward off of that and we go to the district team championships, team scoring has been a concern for us. We keep getting the questions on how to do it. So we're going to walk back through here. As a district, you can determine your own scoring scheme, whatever seems to work best for you. This is what we're showing you here is what TAPS does for 1, 2, and 3A. Every participant, every round played, you get a point. As long as you're in the winner's draw and haven't lost yet, you get 1.5 points for every victory. If you fall to the backside and you go to the consolation draw, then you get a half a point for a victory. So 1 point for every game you play. Every game you win, you get 1.5 points on the winner's draw. You get a half a point if you're in the consolation draw, or if you drop down to the third, fourth game, wherever you may play. In our scoring, a bye is awarded the same points as a victory. So if you were in the championship draw, you were the number 1 seed and you got a bye, you'd get 2.5 points towards the team championship as we go forward. You may have other scoring systems as long as you agree with them in the district before you move forward. That way you can determine a clear district champ. In TAPS, we do not do a school championship. We do a gender championship. So we have a boys championship and a girls championship. As a district, you may decide differently if you wish to combine those. That is totally up to you, as long as all of your coaches agree. I can't state that enough, that the coaches in the district need to determine the scoring format before you begin.
And we know a lot of you have tennis coaches at your school that are not at your school full time. They're probably not full-time staff. They may come in and help your kids. They may be a local pro. It is hard to get those together. We understand that. But figure out a way to have a meeting, do a conference call, make sure that everybody's on the same page with regard to having a voice in how the tournament's going to be structured and run, and then it makes things better. As far as advancement to state, we have a chart here. John pulled that up. Great. All right, 1A, 2A, 3A is simple. We've got a north, we call it region sometimes, but it's a district. We have a north district and a south district. North is going to be in Burleson, South is going to be in Kerrville. Those days are noted on the tennis page of the TAPS website. There will be 8 advancers from each district, 8 from the North and 8 from the South. If you go to 4, 5, and 6A, those are broken up differently based on how many districts are participating in tennis around the state. 4A District 1 has 6 who advance to state, District 2 has 5, and District 3 has 5. You go to 5A, there are 6 districts around the state. District 1 has 3 who advance, District 2 has 3, District 3 has 2, District 4 has 2, District 5 has 3, and District 6 has 3. And in 6A, we have 4 districts in the state. District 1 will have 4 advancers to the state tournament. District 2 will have 4. District 3 will have 3. And District 4 will have 5.
Again, when you're scoring and when you're playing your matches out, you need to go to one more than what's showing on here. So 1, 2, and 3A, we'll play to 10 places just so we have a couple of alternates. If you're in 4A, you're playing to either 7 and 8 or 5 and 6, however it goes. Make sure you get those places settled, though, because if someone gets sick, if someone has to withdraw because of injury or whatever, we would want the next one to be able to call up going to state. The call-ups to state would occur at least by Monday of the tournament. You don't have to come if you're not called up. If we don't call you, don't show up just thinking you're going to play. So again, advancement from district to state, to us, it's simple. If it's not to you, give us a call at 254-947-9268 or drop us an email at info@taps.biz. So as we look at the reviewing the qualifying table as we did it, we have that withdrawal from the state tournament. If you know someone cannot make the state tournament, we had a couple of things where we had conflicts last year. Please let your district know at that point, hey, we qualified third, but we're not even going to be able to go. It's easier for you to tell them at state than us to make the call, and then inform us as well. So again, as a district host, we're going to have your scores and your standings reported through rank 1. That form or that format will be in your coach's toolkit, as well as your entry form to enter your students in the district tournaments will be in your coach's toolkit. So questions, let's go back through and see what we've had so far today. One question came up about when state tennis will be held, whether it's in mid-April or early April. To be honest with you, our facilities drive that and our other events drive that. So the calendar for this year won't change, and the calendar for next year has already been published indicating when the tournament will be. We still are using Waco Regional Tennis Center. It's one of the better facilities for us. The parking, et cetera, is there. So whenever Waco Regional Tennis Center is open later, we can sure look at that opportunity. Again, you do not have to use a UTR if you don't have it. I would say as well, you do not have to have a USTA official on site. A tennis pro will work, whoever your coaches agree. If you're going to use a coaches committee, make sure you have enough that if the 2 schools that are involved in whatever discrepancy are removed. I will say this, before the matches begin, make sure you have a plan for if we want line judges or if we want foot faults or if we want those calls made. The easiest thing that I've ever done, and we did it in West Texas for years, was if you're going to have line calls or foot faults, or if that becomes a problem in a match, the coaches of those 2 schools will now stand and be there to watch that match and make those calls for them. It does seem to settle the situation down a little bit. The scoring format, whether you use pro sets, whether you use 2 out of 3, whether you use super tiebreaker for the third, all of those things need to be discussed with the district coaches and agreed upon prior to the beginning. You also need to have a plan for scoring in the event of weather. So best laid plans, you're planning on a 2-day tournament. Weather looks great, everything is fine, and then when you get there, the rain comes or whatever else shows up. Make sure you have an alternative scoring plan as well to make sure we get through there. If something comes up and you don't think you're going to be able to get your district certified in time because of weather, you can sure email us at info@taps.biz and we'll try to work you through as well. I'm going to let Robert talk on that just a little bit to help you. We want you to try to get the tournament in as planned. However, we do know weather in Texas don't always agree.
And the reason we leave a lot of these details up to the district is all districts are different with regard to the number of participants they have. So if you're hosting that tournament, if you're participating in that tournament, as coaches, you all need to look at that and see realistically, what can we get accomplished today? I know in districts we've had in the past, you schedule your tournament and you go ahead and schedule a potential rain date or a makeup date a day or two after that, if possible, so that you can get it in by that certification date. And obviously, springtime in Texas can be difficult weather-wise. We all understand that. If you run into issues, you're just, you get swamped for several days and you can't get it in, and you lose your makeup date as well. As early as you can, reach out to us here in the TAPS office, and we'll be glad to help walk you through that process and look for options so that you can get your tournament completed.
As you go through the year, go to taps.biz, click on athletics, click on tennis. The right-hand side is the blog. It will have the most updated information we have. If you're not in rank one, please make sure, if you haven't been getting tennis emails, you should be getting one in the next day or two from us as a test. Make sure that you're entered in rank one as a tennis coach or the head tennis coach, so we can get that information to you. All that information will be on the tennis page. The championship page, on the tennis page, www.taps.biz, click on athletics, click on tennis. On the red banner, you're going to find championship info, and more of that information will be posted as we come. Again, we will be at Waco Regional Tennis Center. Our tennis tournaments are split this year. There are 2 1 week and 2 the next. Easter being where it is seems to always come into conflict a little bit with what we're able to accomplish. So we want to make sure that we take care of everyone in all phases as we go forward. We appreciate you joining us here today. John, I think we've hit most of the questions. I'm going to turn it over to you to close us off.
If I don't see any other questions in here in the next minute or so, we'll sign off. In the meantime, I will say, coaches, if you have a Twitter account or social media accounts for your teams, or if your schools have athletic accounts, go ahead and look for TAPS Twitter account. It's TAPS_tennis. We're going to be posting announcements and updates and weather delays for state, and it's a great resource for your parents or for anybody who's coming to see the state tournaments. We'll be putting a lot of content there. Our video links will be there. Our photos of the matches will be there. All that kind of stuff is there. I don't see any other questions. Remember, there is a recording of this webinar that's going to be emailed to you to the account that you used to register today. We're also going to put a recording on our YouTube channel. That'll probably be by the end of the day. If you have any questions, give us a call at the office or info@taps.biz. Thank you, folks. Have a good day.